Hi, everyone. Thank you for watching either live on the replay. I am really excited to be here today with Marsha, who is an amazing blogger. Be sure you follow her Facebook page and follow her blog. She is inspirational in so many ways, and she is also both a runner and a yogi. And so I'm really honored that she is taking the time today to get in and or get on here and chat through her experience about how yoga has helped her life and helped her as a runner. So thanks for being here, Marsha.
Thank you so much for having me, Beth. I am super excited to be here. I love talking about running and yoga. So I'm happy to share my story today.
Awesome. So what I'd love to do is just start by having you just give a little bit of a background about how you got started and just your story when it comes to yoga and running.
Sure. I've really been running for a long time. I have been running with a local running club now for, almost 14 years. I started shortly after my son was born, and he's going to be 14 this weekend on Sunday.
Mhm.
So, been a runner for a long time, and kind of dabbled in it, certainly before that. But as part of starting running or with the running club, one of the gals over the course of the since these 14 years, she is a yogi herself. She would practice yoga every morning, and I would just roll my eyes. I am a self-proclaimed cardio queen, and so as much running, give me the distance, run, bike, all of that. But I saw yoga as something that would be a waste of my time. Because if I didn't work up a sweat and I wasn't panting at the end of it, what was the point?
Mhm.
So, of course, she would always talk about it. Every morning she would do yoga and she would do, and I just kind of passed that off. But um, 4 years ago now, I guess it was, she invited me to go to a yoga class. And I'm like, fine. She'd been talking about a gal who taught yoga locally. And so, and it was in the basement of a coffee shop. So, I mean, come on, let's go to yoga if we can have coffee afterwards. So we tried yoga, and basically I've been in love ever since. But let me just, kind of back up and say, besides the fact that yoga, for me, like I said, I didn't think it was um, good workout. And if, I was just wasting my time if I was going to go to a class for an hour, right?
Mhm.
Oh, how wrong I was. But when she asked me to go, it just so happened it was in 2013. And in 2013, remember I'm this, cardio junkie who loves to run. I took on this challenge to run 13 half marathons. So that's 13.1 in 2013. So I was going to kind of beat my body up a little more than normal by doing all of these half marathons. So thought, well, this stretching should be okay. Maybe I'll give it a try. But another resistance I had before going to yoga was, um, as a Christian, I kind of thought yoga was kind of out there. I had this stereotype that, um, if I went to yoga, I was going to go in there and I was going to have to, it's all going to be about this light in me, and everything about, it being all about myself, or then this higher power, and just kind of woo woo, I guess you would say. So I was a little bit reluctant for that matter as well. But I knew the gal who was teaching this class, and I knew the gal who was going, and I thought it can't be that far out there.
Mhm.
And, I went, and of course, that myth was dispelled, I guess, the moment I went in. Yoga is not, religion. It's not about, you have to turn your back on God and turn your focus all into yourself or whatever. So that just, kind of went out the window. So, when I talk to people about you really need to try yoga and they talk about that, I'm like, no, 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 no. It's not that at all. So what I began to learn in that year as I began to do yoga, the first times, believe me, it was tough, right? Going in, I was looking at my watch, and then to think I was supposed to lay in Shavasana at the end, which, people, if they don't know, that is just what? Laying still for 5 minutes or whatever.
Swear, like Shavasana is the hardest pose, especially mentally. Like it is, people don't get how tough it is.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sitting there going, I could just go ahead and be done instead of, I could end 5 minutes early and get on with my day.
Right?
Now, funny, I went to a class this morning and, we started in our stretch and I'm like, can we just stay in Shavasana the entire hour?
Yeah,
And of
it's a
course,
stress I think a lot of people go through. I'm sorry to interrupt. Just wanted
no,
to throw that in there.
yes, exactly. But like would say, I'm sure my yoga teacher said, laying in Shavasana is practicing yoga, just breathing and being present on that mat for that amount of time. So, so I told her if I didn't move the rest of the class, she would know what was happening. But yeah, so my thoughts, the first classes, were going everywhere and, I was checking my watch and, but I began to really embrace it. And, some things that it helped me begin to learn is to just be present. And, going back to that year, especially when I ran the 13 half marathons, I did not wear a watch in any one of those half marathons that I ran. I mean, I'm not a super fast runner, but I finished every single half marathon in about 2 hours.
That's
And,
awesome.
there were only maybe a minute difference here and there. So, because what I was practicing was being present in every mile. And what I learned that from yoga. I learned that from being in that mile because, in previous running, especially when I would do a half marathon, if 1 mile was too slow, then the whole run was out the door. I was already defeated and it was a terrible run. Or, if I ran too fast and thought I was overpaced, and then I worried, until it all fell apart because I was just worried about the next mile and the next 10 miles,
Hmm.
So yoga, for one thing, taught me to be just present, shut off the mind, shut off the distractions and be present. And not to mention, of course, the stretching and all of the great things it does for your body and just body awareness, and as a runner, just understanding how to listen to your body, how to honor your body, if it doesn't want to stretch that far, don't stretch it that far,
Yes.
and yeah, just that sense of competition. As a runner, you're always either in competition with yourself or maybe the person you're racing against. But in yoga, I really learned how to be on my mat and be in my practice,
Hmm.
without, the instructor, as all good yoga instructors would do. You don't have, your pose is not going to look like the person next to you. And I learned to be okay with that. And that was, so helpful as well.
Yeah, and as a teacher, that's something that I see so many runners struggle with. So obviously, I would get a lot of runners in my classes with my expertise.
Uh-huh.
And runners are so type A that they're like, okay, we're doing full pigeon. Well, I have this option to modify, but I'm going to go and do it. And I'm just going to go, hardcore. And that's not what your body needs, especially when you're so tense. And I think that that's one of the most valuable lessons that runners can learn from yoga is really to listen to your body, give it what it needs. And honestly, you'll get to your goals faster that way than pushing yourself further than where your body's ready to go.
Yes, absolutely. And that was just something that, I've been one to run through and train through injury and, take it to the level of, I've had a stress fracture before, just things like that because I would just push, push, push. And, it's kind of funny that from the first class I went to and I thought, okay, I'm not sweating. I don't, this isn't going to benefit me. Now I
Mm.
don't want to sweat in the class. I'm just in there to really just flow and, give my body it's almost therapeutic for my body and my mind, to slow down a little bit.
Yeah, and so not I won't get too far into it, but there's as you get into yoga for runners, there are definitely people who actually suggest doing more of the relaxing, restorative,
Mhm.
yin sort of um, practices. And that's, without like, as we were talking about yoga and Christianity and everything, it's, not necessarily getting into Eastern philosophy too much, but it's just sort of like even in running hard and easy.
Yeah.
And so that gets sort of into the yin and yang dichotomy that is referred to sometimes in yoga. But really, what it comes down to is that yoga is a very high stress, high impact, or excuse me, running is very high stress, high impact. And so having that slower style of yoga, doing more of a restorative practice or a yin practice is actually really good for runners. It's not something that most runners are drawn to naturally, but it's something that I think a lot of runners who start out with yoga eventually become more and more drawn to.
Yes, absolutely. And actually, the instructor locally has done some yin series, like a 4-week series, and I've participated in those. And, again, basically, we're just holding those poses longer. We're focusing more on that breathing. And, sometimes it's nice to go through that series because it resets me to, again, just be there, feel the breath into those areas, and so yes, they're very, very helpful. And a lot of times when those come around, I'll share those with my friends, hey, you really need to give this a try.
Yeah, and from a physiological perspective, it really helps open up the connective tissue. And that's something that a lot of runners, like, yeah, maybe you foam roll, but you don't necessarily do too much with the fascia, that sort of thing. But it really helps open up that connective tissue, get the blood flowing through there, which is beneficial for runners in a lot of ways. And it really will ultimately help you with performance as a runner.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So it's been fantastic. And I have now, been practicing consistently. I try to hit a class 2 to 3 times a week. And then I have a few poses that are my favorites. And so I will do those every morning, just kind of some, stretching and things like that. But, in those tense situations, I just, kind of come back to my breath and come back to just being in this moment. And those are things that are invaluable to me as a person, as a runner. And I learned that, from yoga.
Yeah, totally. Or even before I really started getting into my yoga practice seriously, I remember being on, for example, like tempo runs, and I'm training for a certain time goal, and my mind would just like, I would get into this not quite a dark place, but it would just I would get all these negative thoughts running through my head because, oh, I look at my watch and I'm running too slowly, or this feels a lot harder than I think it should. And so it would just be negative thought after negative thought, which is going to make the run go even worse. And, you mentioned having this happen in races, and I've been there too. And so that skill that you learn in yoga, that mental skill of resetting your thoughts, knowing that you're in control of your thoughts, is ultimately going to help your running performance because you're not letting those negative thoughts overtake you.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. Yeah, it just is my thought process because I would, like I said, in those, I've done now about 60 half marathons and a dozen marathons. And, in those early days before doing that, I mean, I can remember feeling defeated in mile 5 if it wasn't going the way, and it would just continue to spiral out of control. because I didn't have my thoughts in the right, place, and hadn't learned to, you know, work with them and get them back in, in line, or, not let all that negative stuff come in.
Absolutely. Well, did you have anything more you wanted to add about yoga for runners?
Um, Gosh, no, it's just like I said, it really has become passionate, for me to share, because it is quite the transformation I came from just, like I said, for multiple reasons, going no way. It wasn't hardcore enough, or the spiritual aspect, was it, going against, my, spiritual beliefs, and just, was it going to be a waste of my time and another workout for the week, to now just, there's so many, beneficial things, from it, in my body and my mind. And, if nothing, else, it has, strengthened me spiritually and physically and emotionally. And I know that there are probably some practices out there. I've gone on vacation, and if you go to beach, areas, some of the yoga practices, they're a little bit different. You kind of have to do your homework, and I've been in a class where they, have a, clang a cymbal or something like that.
Gongs and gong baths, and you got the singing bowls and everything. Yeah, like every studio is so different.
Sure. And it's, a little bit different. But the other thing is, I never felt still, even in, going to that one, that I had to say or do or participate in anything that was against my, personal beliefs. It was just that was a little more out there than my, small town Indiana yoga practice. But yes, it's been so great. And as I've gone through, transitions in running and, things like that, it just helps me to know that, I just need to honor my body, and so yeah, it's fantastic. And what you shared last week with the 10 days, and what you're sharing soon, the program and stuff coming out, is going to be just, I think, great for people to work through, in a great introduction.
That's my hope.
Yes, absolutely.
And I would love to end with so if you don't follow Marsha already, definitely do that. Again, I'm going to link to her Facebook page, check out her blog, but I'd love for you to just share a little bit more about your blog and who you help, so more people can connect with you.
Sure, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm Marsha Aspley. I work with women who, say, we're tired of diets and gimmicks and quick fixes, and just really want to honor our bodies. Again, back to just things I've learned from yoga, just honor our bodies and honoring the one who created our bodies. My focus is really a combination of faith and fitness, that I believe that we have to, just know that we are unique and fearfully and wonderfully made. And so I want to, just help women to get to that point in their lives where they know that, where they live that in a way that is, fit and healthy, and taking care of their bodies so they can be the best that they have been created to be. So yeah, you can find me at marshaapsley.com, and Marsha Apsley.
Sorry about the
That's
technical
okay.
difficulties.
Uh, yeah, so yeah, you can just find me at marshaapsley.com, and Marsha Apsley on my social media. And
Looks like we're having a little bit of an internet issue. I don't know if it's on my side or the program Be Live that we're using. I'm going to wait just a moment to see if Marsha's feed comes back, because at least on my computer it's frozen. But definitely check her out, marshaapsley.com. She is amazing and inspirational for, like she was saying, those of you who are maybe you've tried some different things, tried to get healthy, tried to follow a workout and healthy eating regime, and maybe you are just struggling to either follow through with that, or you just feel like you've tried things and they're not working, and you need something that is going to give you more support. So maybe you've tried to do it on your own and that hasn't worked, or you just need something that's not full of gimmicks and that's just tried and true. And again, that you trust in God to help you through that process. Marsha is the lady to go to for that. So be sure that you follow her. And I'd like to thank Marsha for hopping on.
Thanks for
And
having me.
hopefully, we'll be able to do this soon in the future. But thank you for watching, everyone. And again, be sure to go follow Marsha.